Okay, so this video in the big picture is about the teaching process and therefore the learning process. More specifically, it's about some things that happen when a complete beginner for the first time is getting on the windsurf board and starting to ride on their own. Okay, this point is a point of contention, hence the title of the video. It's something that windsurf instructors will argue about amongst themselves. Now, I've spoken with many windsurf instructors, many windsurfers who are not instructors. I've spoken with students of mine over the years, students who have come to me from somewhere else, and here's the gist of what people argue about. Okay, now there's two schools of thought over how we first put someone on the board, and I'm going to show you that.
Okay, let's take a look at this riding stance here. Notice a few things. My front arm is straight, my back hand is further back along the boom, my body is facing forward, the board right now is 90 degrees to the wind. It's a little bigger sail. This is a 3.5 meter. I've got enough power in this sail that I can lean back against it. That power goes through my arms, my body, my legs, and into my feet, so I can drive that board forward and also have a bit of control by pushing the front or the back foot over the direction of the board. Now, this is definitely the point that we want to bring our beginners to. On the water, it looks something like this. This is Peter after about 3 hours of lessons. Okay, let's take a look at what we call the control position. Notice my front elbow is bent. I'm holding that mast nice and close, which makes it stand vertically on the board. My body is facing forward, just like as in the power position. This allows my backhand to have a wide range of motion to control the amount of power in the sail. This is Ava, about an hour and a half or two into her first lesson. She's using the control position to ride around with the red-eyed robot. She knows how to tack, she knows how to jibe. Most importantly, she can control where she's going, and she knows how to work her way upwind. So the question is, when you first put someone on the board, which is it? Give them a bit more power, or go to the control position with less power?
Control position, power position. This is the kind of thing that windsurfers will argue about. And what I want to do is reconcile these two.
To do that, let's go back and take a look at two of the basic principles of how our brains work when we're learning new information. These are things that all good instructors know. One, new material needs to be broken down into small pieces and learned bit by bit. And the second one is the instructor, and this is so important, needs to know what's going on in the mind of the student, needs to remember what it feels like to be a beginner, and needs to know the body's reactions when they're learning something new. Okay, I just threw this clip in for the fun of it. Okay, let's take another look at that power position. Notice a few things. If I keep my front arm straight and I lean the mast back because I want to go further upwind, what happens is my sail will stall out completely. It also means that my mast is leaning downwind, which means the power in the wind in the sail slides off the top. As we mentioned before, we want the mast only to move across the wind one way or the other. Never downwind and away from you. That only causes problems. Notice also, in order to do this, I, number one, have to have a pretty good feel for the sail in the first place. I need to have enough power to be able to lean back against the sail. Otherwise, it doesn't work. What's going to happen, and I see a lot of teachers teaching their students in the first hour like this, students riding along like this sail is not working efficiently at all. Again, the wind is sliding off the top. We want the mast vertical instead. Yeah, if there's enough power, we can lean back against it. And then the mast is still vertical. So if I don't have enough wind, I'm stalling the sail, and the sail is pulling me downwind instead of forward. And this doesn't work at all. So if you look at this windsurf student, it's absolutely great that she's getting up and riding. But the problem is, if you look carefully at the sail position and how she's holding it and what's happening there, she has very little control over which direction she's going, and there's no possible way that she's going to be able to cut upwind and keep on riding. She's going to have to get pulled back up to her start point again and again and again until she learns how to go upwind.
My lesson is over. My legs are killing me. I finally did get the hang of it, but I was pretty slow.
Let's look at the control position again. Many experienced windsurfers forget that first time on the board, the student's body is going to be tense, and right when we want to be teaching them with that gentle backhand to let the wind flow over the sail, because their body is so tense, that backhand is going to be pulling the sail in too much, which leans it over, stalls it, pulls them downwind again instead of forward. Even in 5 or 6 knots of wind with a small sail like this, the vast majority of beginners will tend to overpull that backhand because they're tense. This will overpower them and stall the sail out.
A long-term windsurfer will instinctually and without maybe putting much thought into it, automatically bring that sail forward, catch that power, and lean back against the power. What they might not realize is that this action is composed of 3 or 4 other skills that need to be broken down and learned separately. And one of those skills is learning how to find and control that power in the sail.
In the control position, with less power and a smaller sail, it takes far less time to teach a beginner the basics that they need to be independent. Things like managing the power in their sail, controlling not only whether they're going upwind or downwind, but finding that maximum upwind line.
Not just a little bit upwind, but the special techniques we use to get right up on that maximum upwind line.
These are self-sufficiency skills that need to be in place in order to teach someone how to start generating some more power in the sail and leaning back against it.
You're making a mistake if you go straight to the power position without teaching the basics first. A lot of people do that. With the control position, it's much easier to go maximum upwind. It's much easier to control the power in the sail. The sail is much less likely to stall. Notice I use a smaller sail for this. In the first couple of hours, people are dropping their sail and picking it up dozens of times. You want a nice small sail so that you can do that. You can get into this riding position. You don't need a lot of power in the sail. Again, with beginners, even in light wind, that sail stalls out really easy. So, being able to just get used to the feel of the sail in your hands, balance it, and find that point is much better done with a small sail. Later on, once you get all the basics, after the first couple of hours when the student has all the basics, the survival tack, the normal beginner tack, the unpowered jibe, controlling your direction, cutting upwind at a nice sharp angle, then it's time to start talking about the power. A good goal for the first lesson of about 2 or 3 hours, given the right wind and water conditions, the right selection of gear, and a good instructor, should be for the student to be able to go out, ride around on their own, using the control position, and be independent, which means staying upwind consistently, controlling where they're going, and being able to sort themselves out if things go south or the sail falls in the wrong way or something like that. Because that way, the student is spending all their time on the water riding around instead of spending half their time walking back upwind. I can probably get about 70 to 80% of my students to this point in the first 2 or 3 hours. This allows me to stand back, let them ride around on their own for a while, assimilate the information, and it puts them in a really good position to start learning about how to get some more power and lean back against the sail to go faster. Then when we introduce a bit more power, they're getting more speed, they're leaning back against that sail, they're going faster. Inevitably they'll start to go downwind, but they can recognize that, go back to the control mode, work their way upwind, and then start playing around with the power again. As we say, learn the control first, and then learn power. Here's an interesting thing that I've observed many, many times, and I tell my students this. A lot of windsurf instructors are really good high-level windsurfers and good people, but it's been so long since they first picked up that sail and struggled to bring the power under control, even in light wind conditions, that they kind of forget what it's like. And again, windsurfing at the intermediate and higher levels, it's all about slamming as much power as we can into that sail and squeezing as much power as we can out. It's not the same skill set that a total beginner needs when they first start to ride. Okay, this approach neglects those two very important principles we talked about before. Break the material down into small pieces. And secondly, be aware of what the beginner is going through at that time. Something that seems so natural to an experienced windsurfer is completely new and unfamiliar for a beginner windsurfer. I've found with students that come to me, even if they've had 5 or 10 or more hours of experience, if they've been taught from the beginning with this approach of get a bunch of power and lean back against it, inevitably these students have far less control over what they're doing. They struggle a lot more to stay upwind and to take care of themselves out there. What I have to do is go back and fill in those gaps. And then we can get back to going on to the next steps. And these students, without exception, after the lesson, they come to me and they say, Matt, I had no idea that you could go upwind that high. I feel so much better about the control I have over my sail and over my board. So, power position, control position, they both have their role. They need to be taught at the right time. Neglecting one instead of the other doesn't help the student at all. Overall, again, teach the control position first, get them confident out on the water, and then start increasing the power. That's it. Thank you.
どうもありがとうございました。
Very much to Christina for helping us.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you put it just down a little bit so I can look into your eyes?
Well, into my eyes.
Yeah. Then I'm talking to somebody
Oh, okay.
instead of a camera lens, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
maybe it gives a different feeling. So,
Alright.
so it's just so it's right there. Yeah. Is it okay?
Okay, this is all recording, by the way.
But that's okay. That's okay.
This can be in your behind the scenes part of the DVD.
Damn it! We'll do it live. Okay.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
Just tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, that was good.